Hey everyone, and welcome to our last episode. Least of this season. Let's see if we do something in the future. But we wanted to bring this project to an end. As every week, with me is my friend Judith.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. If you've been following along, we've been building the Next.js and SuperBase powered version of what we did in the first season. First season, we just built like a super simple, like the most bare-bone React app that you could possibly imagine to be as quick as possible to build a virtual bookshelf. And this time around, using a production-grade framework, I would say. Like we have server-side rendering and authentication, and we have all of the good stuff. And in our last episode, we're bringing back a favorite component of ours of season 1 too. Judith, you want to run us through what we're trying to do today?
Yes, so we can already see this little star rating component, but so far it doesn't do anything. So in our first version of the app, we had this little star rating component where you could update the rating of a book. So you could hover those stars and then click them to change the rating. And I think that's what we want to bring back today. So we basically have the version of that component that works for a simple page application React app. And we now need to make sure that this also works with the server-side rendered Next.js version. And I guess we want to add it to that view as well, right?
Just realized that we didn't. I think we even took out the regular number input for the rating that we had when editing or creating a book.
Which makes sense in a way, right? So we would are we going to add it to that view as well? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, totally.
So I think that the only challenge is really to make the action run on the server.
Cool. Yeah. So we have a star rating component here, and let's review the API, I guess. We have the number of filled stars that we want to, So in this case, it's, I guess, 4 coming in as a number here. And then we have, we're passing down a callback that gets called when you click a star.
I honestly think we might not even have to change anything about that component, but probably rather the parent component, right? Because this one, we already specified use client. So this one already is a client component. And I think it has to stay that way because it's it gets user input. So I guess as a rule of thumb, usually anything that reacts to user input is a client component. And we already have the onClick star callback function.
Is that also a general rule that as soon as you have use state, that you have to mark it as a client component? That's
not just a rule. That's the way it is. So
has to happen.
You cannot use any hooks or use state, use effect, all these kind of things in server-side components.
Right.
I think as soon as you do that, you will get weird errors. Then
it will probably tell you, hey, you got to mark this as use client.
Yes,
because
exactly.
It does have its own little state management per instance, because we're going to see it as soon as we get it working again. But right now, this component is is the code that we're looking at, only that we're not enabling the interactivity. So if this is in a mode where we want you to be able to interact with this, then hovering over the stars will give you will fill out as many stars from the left as you have been hovering over, so to say. So this is in display only mode.
But I'm wondering, we don't seem to pass that as a prop, right?
Yeah, I honestly.
How did we do that?
How did we do that? Let's check. I want to check how we did that myself. So I'm in the book detail page now, and we do have the star rating here. And the only thing we're passing is the filled stars. So we're not passing the callback. And I'm wondering if the absence of the callback does anything.
I know how we do it. Yes, exactly. That's just what you
Yeah.
set. So basically, if you look at the logic in like line 19,
Yeah.
so if we have a callback function, then we are setting is editing to true. So I was thinking, where's the Boolean? Where we say whether this is editable or not. But I think of course, that makes sense. Like if you have a callback function, that means you can edit the component or you can edit the rating. And if we don't have one, it's just a static display of the rating.
All right.
Now it makes sense.
I see.
I think it's fair, to be honest. For a second, I was like, it took me a second to wrap my head around what past us were thinking there. But I think it makes sense, doesn't it? Anyway, I think it works. So
it totally works. So if we have it just sets the local state to editing mode, I guess.
Yep.
Like set is editing true on mouse enter. So we're not even just turning on editing as soon as the component mounts, but it's like we just do it when you enter with the mouse and if you leave it again, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think as a first step, what we could do is go to where this component is rendered, which is, that.
Yeah.
And we can start with an empty callback function, maybe. So maybe somewhere up there.
All right. So I'll go handle star click or something like that.
Yeah, why not? Exactly.
Or handle.
Yeah, I think what
rating update. Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. But so this is not going to take rating, right?
I think we called it star index or something, but that's essentially what it is. So you're going to get the index of the star that is clicked. Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. So in here, whenever we click it, we're passing a number into it. Yeah. All right. So this is actually the right API. Okay.
It is the rating, actually. And then for now, maybe just put some console log or something.
Okay.
And then you can pass that to the component, and then it's not going to do anything yet, but then I think that should already activate the hovering effect.
On ClickStar. Oh, event handlers cannot be passed to client component props.
Excuse
if you need
me?
interactivity. Oh, interesting. So we're on a server rendered page. And this, is probably client-side interactivity. Is it?
What? But that's why we... What?
I love our show for these moments, by the way.
Goodbye.
This is like, we totally... And then you go here and then it blows up in your face. Huh?
Okay, hang on a second. I thought this was why we had the star rating component as a client component.
Yeah. So, I'm wondering if, since the page component that we're on is like a server only rendered whatever, or do you think it's about the console log? No, that can be on the server. So we're passing the callback function into our client rendered component. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm wondering if it now assumes that the whole page has to be a client rendered component.
The thing is, we need to get it back to the server at some point, because this handle rating update function, which is almost empty for now, that's gonna, I guess, call an action at some point.
Let's check the edit page where we're editing stuff already anyway.
That's what we can do, actually. We might be able to...
So, here we're using the whole form party.
Yeah. We can actually, I think, call the update action directly from the start rating component, now that I'm thinking about it. That's the whole point of server actions, right? That you can call them from client-side components.
Is it?
Isn't it?
Let's definitely try. I don't know, but let's try.
But then I have to take back my previous statement of we don't have to change the star rating component. Then we're gonna change it quite a bit, because then the update magic would happen directly from that component.
Well, I'm happy to explore that, I have to say, because if this can sort of, be like a drop-in thing that just edits from wherever you drop it in, that's also kind of cool.
Exactly. And then I think let's try that. But first, we might have to come up with an action for doing that. So let's first of all see what actions do we have. Book actions. We have an update book action, right? Yes.
Hold on, I'll revert what I have here. Okay, so star rating component.
Star rating component. I think what we're going to do is write a new little server action just for updating the rating, I would suggest. So if you hop to our actions,
action.
Yeah,
book actions.
Book action. So we have the update book action, which gets the entire form data. I think we could reuse that, but no, actually let's not. Because, for example, at the end of that function, you already see the redirect. We don't want that. We don't want to redirect, I think.
Yeah.
When we update the star rating, right? And also in the form data we are passing into that update book action, we are expecting the title, for example, to be mandatory. So I'm thinking let's maybe write a small little action just for updating the rating. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah. I'll just follow you as on these things.
Nice.
Using function.
But let's not do form data. What does that get? It would just get, I guess, the
We could still
ID.
From the component perspective, I was actually wondering if we were gonna wrap the whole thing in a form and then use local state to populate a hidden form field with the value, and then still submit the form, so to say. But in the case of the edit book form, then we'd have a form and a form, which is, I think, not valid HTML.
Ooh, you're right. So let's not do that. Let's try it without first, maybe.
So it totally depends on how if server actions only work if you use them through form.
No, I think you can just call them in the event handler. I hope. Let's try it.
So star rating itself is a client component.
Exactly.
Hey, about this scenario, just to brainstorm that a little for a second, we have the standalone scenario, basically, and we want to show it in a form scenario, right? If it's being part of a form, we kind of want a form element, even if it's a hidden one, to hold the value, because then we're submitting the entire form, and one of them should be called rating to post the whole data set to the server and then do everything in the book action that we're seeing, right? We're getting form data entries, parsing it through the schema. We're setting the integer related stuff directly. And so in the standalone scenario, I guess the difference would be if it's already in a form, then kind of don't submit yourself when you finish clicking a star, right? And if you're standalone, then, render your own form stuff and post it to the server and so on.
That's a good point. How are we going to do that? The alternative would also be to not even have it as a standalone component. So basically in this view we have right now, nothing is editable, right? So we could also say we keep it like this.
Yeah.
And then you can only edit the rating when you're in the edit view. But it's also kind of nice. Like, what do we want? Do we want it to be editable here in that view?
I think ultimately it would be cool. Maybe let's start with the version here, like to not wreck our brains. Because in this scenario, like we already have the action, right? Like the only thing we kind of got to do here in this version would be to either add like the hidden input field here, like right into the component, and then have like have like its own little logic that if you click a star, that it sets the value of that form field. So it will be taken to the server, like it will take by the entire form just because it's part of the form. And then it should work, I guess. What we could also do just to have like, because while I was saying that, like on let's go back to the edit page for a second. So we have all of our stuff here. We could also, of course, just not bake the hidden input into the component itself, but just introduce all of that handling. So we could just go like this, right? Like we could say input hidden, and then like we just put the star rating in here, right? And then we kind of pass like a little on star click.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking. I think for that version, we don't even need to change anything. We're going to keep the star rating component as it is, and then on click star will simply set the form value, and then all the submitting is handled once we click save book, I think.
Yeah. The only thing I'm wondering here is, so now we kind of need this handle rating change. So here we're going to need a handler, which probably then will give us the same error as before.
No, because this is a client-side component. This is the form. Oh, no, it's not. Huh?
No.
It's not. That's the same error as before.
Yeah, because like now, like in this version, like this gets rendered on the server. Then we just get like a plain HTML form.
Yeah, you're right.
And that sends the regular form action. So up till this point, we don't really have client-side interactivity. Yeah. So, I mean, if we wanted to contain that, like if we wanted to just try to keep only this on the client side,
yeah,
I suppose we could try this, like, and then input hidden, and like do everything in here.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, just fragment this or whatever.
But that would mean we have to make sure this always gets rendered within a form, right?
My suggestion to our conundrum of in form without form could be, but I'm very curious to hear what you're going to say for this. Like, so for me, we could introduce like a standalone prop. And then do this sort of, and well, actually, like we could. The way that it would probably go, in my mind, is like star rating. I don't know. I'm bad naming stuff. But so this could just go like something like this, and then this receives standalone and props, and then we kind of say like, if it's standalone, then we return a form, and then the star rating component with the props.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And if it's not that, then we just return the star rating component with the props. What's your problem? Okay. So we have to kind of say what's in here, which is also the filled stars, I guess. Right? Like something like that. So it knows we're not lying to it. Sorry, I'm making a mess. Oh, okay. This needs a closing bracket too. So, okay. So what we're exporting then is the wrapper.
Yes.
Right? So if it's in context of the form, then we would just say standalone false. And we're just passing this, and we have this. And if it's standalone, we just wrap it in a form and assign it its own action.
I think that works because then we can call that update rating action that we started writing but didn't finish.
Yeah.
But what do we do in the other case?
In the not standalone version?
Then we still have the problem of interactivity, I think, in our server-side component, right?
Yeah, like that in that case, we would just be rendering this, right?
Yes.
And then, so now I thought we could have since we're having state, we could have rating our naming is really off. Please don't hate us. So we initialize this state with the filled stars that are coming in.
Yes.
Then this is hooked up to the rating state.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this as well. This is not filled stars anymore. This is rating. And then on star click, I think this is just not a callback anymore. We don't have to pass a callback at all. So I think we can kind of just remove on star click from here and kind of yeah, exactly. Copilot gets me.
Exactly. I think, okay. And then the link between that form, our editing form, and this input is going to be the name, right? That's all we need, because here we say input name is rating, because ultimately in our parent component, so in the page that renders this star rating thing, we need to get the value of the rating before we submit the form. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that value we should be able to get with only the name of the input component, right?
I think so.
Okay, let's try that, maybe.
I think.
Why is it complaining?
It's complaining because now on-click star is always defined, and it's this is the nice thing about TypeScript. It's this condition will always be true, because before we were passing it or not. So
yes.
The question now is only, do we even... So this is the wrapping element. And before we set this into editing mode, as soon as you kind of entered over the wrapping element, I'm wondering if we take this away.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on click star. So we also don't have to check for this here. We can just get rid of all the star. Yeah. Right? Even like that. Oh, no, one more closing bracket. So this is like this. You can just do it like that in one line. Awesome. But now, just now, this component is now always in editing mode, so to say.
Yes.
Right? So now the question, I'm wondering if we kind of pass it like another Boolean prop, sort of like standalone.
Uh-huh.
But that we take it out here, which is edit mode. And then when we're in a place where we want you to be editable, we just pass this to true. Exactly. And in places where we don't want it. Or, we just always have it editable, because the only place where we didn't want it originally was on the listing.
Exactly. Which, I don't know, do we want it editable there?
I don't know. Maybe we just set it to editable for everywhere. But currently,
because
you can
what
only
I'm
click
thinking,
on the title.
couldn't we do? So if we give the star rating component, not the wrapper, but the star rating, a Boolean prop is editable, and then we set that to true in the wrapper whenever we have the onClick star function. You know what I mean? Wait.
Well, this should go, right? Like, at least for now, in our new plan, we're not passing a callback function anymore.
True.
Because we're relying on the fact that either this is already surrounded by a form element.
Yeah.
Or we're surrounding it by a form element.
I mean, we could just pass an optional property is editable to the wrapper, right? We could even give it a default value of true. And then only in this main view that you have open right now, we set it to false.
Oh, you know what? I think I figured out why we had the on mouse over and on mouse leave thing on the wrapping element. And we had this, because I'm looking at the CSS right now.
I remember the CSS magic you did.
Right? So if we're not editing, so if no one is interacting with this thing right now, we want the filled stars to just show up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But if you're interacting with it, we want, even if we already know that this is 4 stars of value right now, if you were to decrease the rating, then we can. So I think, hold on.
Hey, listen, let's make it work in editing mode first.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to make work first. And then we can decide if we will add a static version of it or not.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we need to bring that on mouse enter and so on back, right?
At least, so a version of it. So I think this on mouse enter.
Yes.
We have to do that and we have to do this. Exactly.
So it's simplified, but we still need it. Okay.
So now we can see it, right?
Oh, it's already working. Great.
Yeah. Like this is because, so as soon as we're coming into the element, we want it to be in the, like, as it feels like it's interactive. But if you leave it, it should go back to the value that it currently has, right? And the same thing here, of course. Like you should be able to set it to 1 star or 5 star and yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
So now the only thing we need is the form action. Yes?
Totally. I mean, in this configuration, at least the not standalone version should already work. So if we chuck this component into the edit page now, then it would get this thing.
Exactly.
Right? Hold on.
Yeah. No, I agree. Can you throw it in there somewhere?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So maybe above personal notes. Let's just try. Like that now okay. Yeah, we actually do want a label. We want book. We're getting the rating.
Yes, why is it complaining? Okay. So what do we want to happen if we don't have a rating?
Well, I guess then we can set it to 0. So if we have a rating, do that.
Yeah.
And if we don't, set it to 0.
It's still not happy?
Argument of type number is not...
no, we don't need the parse int, I think. I think you can just do rating or 0. So it seems like rating already is a number and not a string.
Oh,
I don't know why it's suggested.
Like this?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I think the only thing we have to do now, so where's our submit magic for this? So this works.
Like now we have a new thing.
Yeah. Now we need to... Oh, Jesus.
Now we kind of need to... Oh, we're doing that already. So I can kind of mess with this. Like it had 4 stars before.
Yeah.
Like, hold on, I'm going to reload. So it's 4 stars now.
Yeah.
I can hover and it won't change. But if I set it to 1 star, because I clicked now.
Yeah, that's good. But
that
if
is
you
good.
Reload it, it's going to go back to 4 because we're not setting it.
Exactly.
But that's good. That's what we want for now. I
think so.
Yeah, the only thing that's missing is sending the value when we submit the form. So can you go to where we submit the form in that page thing?
Toads. So here we have our Funky Pants update book action. That's where we are. We're already looking for a book rating. So I'm wondering if this just works now. You want to try?
Yes.
I'll set it to 5 in pure optimism of our genius. So let's set it to 5 and it's 5. There you go. Beauty of the form of how forms work.
Yo, forms. HTML forms. Here we are, seriously, discussing a bunch of different frameworks and meta frameworks and more frameworks. And in the end, what it all boils down to is HTML forms.
Is it not awesome?
Beautiful.
Two front-end developers, 2025, are getting excited about how the platform worked when it was invented.
Yeah, the good old days of the internet. All right, so now what's missing is the standalone version.
Exactly. So this would need an action just to work on its own.
Exactly. So let's go back to that action we started writing a lifetime ago. So I have my action, right? Actually, in that case, we don't want the redirect, I guess, right? I don't think so.
You know what? Do we want the page to reload? No, I don't think so.
I think what would be nice, but we don't really have that yet, would be a tiny little toast or something saying like saved.
That would be cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, calling out the old days of the internet, but what would then happen is that you redirect the page with a query parameter appended.
What query parameter?
I'm just thinking, so if we're submitting a form, even with this tiny thing, so like regarding the redirect, I think my point is this, like if we're here in a non-editing like we just want it to work in here, right? Like,
yeah.
So we can set it to 2 now because we have our local state, our client-side local state. This is not 2 yet. If we reload, it's going to come back to 5. Okay. So if we're here and we now clicked on 2, it could send the server action and update the server. And I wonder if we don't return a redirect, will we just stay in this page where the new value is on this page right now is only stored in the client-side state. But as soon as we did reload, then it would be 2 because we did set it to 2. But we can kind of spare ourselves the redirect, so to say, because, well, the UI already shows it at 2. But if we now wanted to show a toast, then we would come back to the same conundrum of the page itself not being a client-side component yet. So my question really is, if we wanted to put in a toast, can we do that without making the entire page a client-side component?
I think we would do that in the wrapper. Let's not overcomplicate it. Let's go step by step. And first make this work. So for now, let's not even worry about errors or redirects or anything, because we are still missing the actual update function in our books service. Let's do that real quick. Books service. Okay. Let's go to the book service. Okay, let's do another function. Async function update book rating. And that's gonna get the book ID, I guess, and the rating.
Yeah.
What is it suggesting?
It's just saying
Yeah, that
I think you have a
looks
typo.
good. Oh,
Async.
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 That looks good, I guess. So, we have to export it. Update book rating. Now, argument of type number. Did I say it's a string? No, it's a number. There you go. So, we have the action. Let's now go to the star rating.
Ooh.
And then that's going to be, what did we call it? Update book rating action, maybe. But that needs some parameters.
Book ID number, rating number is not assignable to
yeah.
string form
We
data.
might need a
No, I
little
think you
wrapper
can.
for that.
I think the signature on your thing, on your service,
Yeah.
that can just similarly as it doesn't take book ID and rating, it just takes form.
Yes.
Or hold on, does it? I'm always confused with the actions in the service. No, I think the service takes books ID and rating, but the action takes form data.
But the action takes then kind of a different type of form data, right?
I think form data is just like a generic type, right?
That's a generic type.
And then we do the same thing, like the object from entries, form data entries, and we can just check manually, like before we checked if we don't have a book ID, and then we can check like if we don't have book ID and or not rating, then we can throw an error.
We can just do maybe this because we already have a second form schema for deleting. So why don't we just do one for updating as well? What do you say? And that then needs an ID and a rating. Exactly. Except that I'm confused again. Is the rating a string or a number? I think it's a number for now, right?
Up here, it's a string, I think, because it's coming in as a string from the parse form data.
That might be right. That made definitely sense when we had the number input with our star rating. I'm not sure, but yeah. Anyway, we'll see. But it's probably a string.
Yeah,
You're right.
So there it's also just a form input. It's a hidden one in that sense. Yeah.
Book ID.
So
okay.
Up here we're doing the parsing when we're passing it to the service.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right, so we can do the same thing here.
Parent parse rating. And then
and I think this is just going to work now.
Let's see. Try it.
Okay, so I'll reload this. It's 5.
Yes.
I'm just going to set it to one field set. I'm going to set it to 3. So it's 3 now.
Yeah.
We didn't redirect anywhere. So the question is now, if I reload, it's 0.
Let's see.
No, it's 5. Huh?
What just happened?
It's so confusing. Hold on, let's log some stuff. Let's check what the action does. I guess let's go here and then see what are we getting for book ID and rating. Nothing. Oh, we're not submitting our form yet. Like here, we do have everything set up, but we kind of have to trigger a submit, like a form submit. You know?
Oh.
I didn't think about that before. So
but
I
we need
like on this click.
Click star.
Right?
Okay. Then we probably need to pass an on submit from the wrapper to the star rating, right?
Let's make a super ugly version for the time being. Just like so, set rating.
Okay.
So if we're in standalone mode, then also, by the way, that's also interesting. In this case, we have to go to our star rating and tell it to be standalone. That's something.
Correct.
We didn't do that before. So now we have it. Now we see our button. Now, if I set it to 1 and set rating, then it crashes in our face.
Why is ID undefined?
Well, also, that totally makes sense because here, we don't have a book ID yet, right?
Totally.
So this would, in fact, need another hidden input that's called what, like ID? And has the book ID. So we got to pass it, I suppose.
Of course we got to pass it. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so in a book ID, is that a number? I don't know. Let's try. So
I think it's a number.
So here we have book ID, and then I guess we have the book here, right?
Yes. The only thing is I would say we only need that for the standalone version. We can still pass it in the other version, but technically we wouldn't need it.
That is true.
So the question is if we want to make that prop optional, but we can also just pass it in the other version. Doesn't really matter.
Okay. Well, let's say what the common component is changing in uncontrolled.
Oh no!
What? What happened?
It's the uncontrolled control thing. We don't like that.
No, we do hate that. That's true. Well, let's see. So one by one, we're in standalone mode. We're coming in with the book ID, and so it's saying because star rating is using state to set a number on the rating input, but this one doesn't do that. So we technically have two inputs in the same form, of which one is controlled by state and one is not. Is that the problem?
I don't know.
Let's do an experiment. So if we go here, if we use, I don't know, book ID and then set book. Yeah, exactly. And then this is that. Oh, then it can't be called book ID. I don't know. Okay. Then this is just called ID. I don't care. Set ID. This is so like this.
Is it gone?
Yeah. Because now both input field. Yeah.
Anyway, try if it works.
So now we're not even using the set ID thing, which is also awesome. I never did this before, but okay. So I'm feeling I want to set it to 1 by now, but let's do it to 2. Okay, boink. Ooh, static route. What is this?
No idea.
Anyway, let's reload. It's set to 2.
Okay.
So now I guess we got to do what you suggested a couple of minutes back. Like if we want this to really update immediately on click, then we I suppose we got to define a callback here to pass it into star rating, which can then be called on every click.
Exactly. So what would we want to happen? So when we click the star in that standalone version, we want the form to submit, don't we?
I actually feel we have a use ref coming up. Yeah.
But don't we... oh, yes, you are right. I also feel like we use ref on the form, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
let's do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, the
here for
only
it.
alternative that we have is to make this button pretty and like have like a click in, but no, right? Nope. Okay.
No.
Judith says no. That's it. That's all right. Okay. Handle form submit, I
Handle
guess.
form submit.
Right? So we don't even care. Form submitted. Yeah. So, and now.
So yeah, we got to do a form ref, I guess.
Exactamente. So this has to come in. The form needs its ref.
Ooh.
Yeah, almost, I would say. Ref. And then this.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Actually, let's call this a little nicer. This is a form ref.
Yeah.
Right? And
then we're just gonna submit it, I guess.
Form ref dot current dot submit. Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly. And then this has to come on as an additional prop here. Submit handler, which we're kind of taking in here. Submit handler, which can probably be an optional void function.
It should be, yeah.
Okay. Well, and then, we just do it as a second thing, right?
If it's defined, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Me neither.
Oh, that's cool. If that's actually true and it's not hallucinating. Question mark dot and then parentheses to execute. That's cool.
Okay, that should work, no?
No!
My heart.
Form submit manually. Consider using, form request submit.
How very polite. Okay, let's instead request a submit.
Fine. I don't know. Can totally do that.
What's that? Do you know that? I didn't know that existed.
It feels like one of these life cycle fanciness convenience wrappers where it's like, dot submit is like the vanilla JavaScript version of submitting a form. So I suppose this is handling some React, shenanigans.
Something, yeah.
Okay. Dang.
Bang. Okay,
Bang.
no errors.
Bang. Oops.
Okay, 3. Now reload. 5.
Let's see what's happening in the network. Right? I don't know. Let's see. I want to see if it's actually sending a request. Oh, blob.
Ooh, so what? Why is there so much going on?
What kind of request is this? Okay, I don't care about that right now, but that's weird. This is what it did.
It kind of,
it's a post with, it's requesting books 12 because we're on there. I think that is how forms work. It has a payload of rating 5 and ID 12.
It's almost like if you do that now, I'm going to guess it's going to be 3.
It's just sending 5 all the time. No.
Is it?
Oh, no, here's 3, but this one is 5. If I click on 1, no. Now it sends 1.
It's 1 behind almost. What?
But if I reload now, oh no, now it does. Okay, hold on. I'm going to click 5 now. Oops, sorry.
We still have the logs in the console, and it submitted 12 as an ID and 1 as a rating.
Yeah. So
even though you clicked 5, right? So
we're hovering. Oh, you know what? This is the wrong way around. No, maybe this is a race condition thing. Hold on. So
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, right. Like we're clicking on a star, then it calls the function to set the rating, and then right away it's submitting the handler. And I'm wondering, and that's what you're wondering too, right? Like if this thing is done updating our hidden input.
Good question.
because we're setting rating. So how do we do that? How do you make sure that rating is?
What are we doing in our submit handler again? Let me see.
Well, in the submit handler, like it would make sense why it's one behind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yeah, totally.
But so like we could totally do this, I think. We could just go our fancy friend from use effect and then go, yeah, if rating changed. When rating changed and we have a submit handler, call it.
But don't we change rating whenever we're hovering? Like now I think we might be submitting every time we're hovering.
No.
Or no?
Because the hovering is only the CSS foxy, so to say.
Yeah,
so
let's try it.
When we're hovering, we're doing the whole has selector magic, just fill the cursor, right? Like the stars. And then if we click, then we set the rating, and the rating is reflected in the hidden input.
I'm lost. Just try it.
Okay. So we set it to 5. It does submit to 5. Let's click a 3. Clicks a 3. Yeah. It's a classical React state race condition.
Nice.
Wicked. So we reload. We can set it to 5. Awesome. Yeah. So if we edit it here and we set it to 5, and we save, and it's 5. Yeah.
Nice. I think we have one tiny issue, but that's a quick fix. In the edit page, we now also, I think, need to set the book ID in the star rating component. But we should have it there, I think. There we go, just to make that error go away. Or we could make the book ID optional in the star rating component, but it doesn't really matter, I think.
Can you say stuff in TypeScript like make this mandatory as soon as another prop is passed?
I think,
or something?
I think you can use types for that actually. So we could basically define a custom type where one shape of the input props is for the standalone version, and then one shape of the input props is for the other version. And then we say the props are either this or that. So TypeScript is kind of smart like that. And also what comes in handy there is sometimes the never type. If you want to say, in this case, we will explicitly not have it. That's also quite cool. So we could also do that if we wanted to make the code prettier, I guess.
We could totally, I mean, I don't know. I'm happy in this case, I think, because it doesn't really matter since we do have the ID. Right.
And now, if you go to the main page, the overview page, I assume it's also going to be interactive, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Can you, just for fun, try clicking it just to make sure? Boop. Yeah. Boop. And here we go. Boop.
No. No.
I know why.
You do know why?
No. Do I? No, maybe I don't.
Oh, I don't. I know why.
Because we're not passing some sort of it's not in a form. I don't know.
We're not passing the standalone prop. It's not surrounded by a form. I think.
I think at this point
it's even complaining about it. You know what? I kind of have the feeling that we're not done.
No, it's complaining about the book ID because the standalone is optional.
And now I'm kind of wondering, what if we create a new book?
What's your question?
Like if hold on. So first of all, let's fix this. Okay, so we have book ID, we have fill star standalone. Awesome. Let's do this with the no. It's still not doing it. Are you serious? Why not? 5. It's sending a 5 though.
No, no. You are calling star rating and not the wrapper. Don't you have to render the wrapper?
I know, because we're default exporting the wrapper. Yeah, so the default export from the component is now the wrapper, which in turn uses only the local function, so to say, of the actual
Okay, but
thing.
Still, don't you have to render the... Ooh. Oh, okay.
I think it should be rendering the wrapper.
All right.
So let's see. Yeah, we have the form. We have, but this is getting a weird name. Action ID. Oh, yeah. We destructured that already. I was passing. If you destructure a variable from an object like this, and take it out, is it kind of
what?
gone in memory? So I was doing this. Hold on. Let's verify this before. So hold on. So okay, this is still weird. Look at this. This is the name of the book ID.
Of the book ID?
So.
Oh.
I love that our last episode is a really good one, I have to say. There's so much good stuff here.
You know what's going on? I can tell you what's going on.
Yes, please.
On this page, we have several forms, and they are all called rating. That's my guess right now.
Ooh.
The other...
Yeah, of course. We do have a whole bunch
because we are rendering a list of books. Each of them theoretically has the star rating component. The other books right now don't have a rating, but still we are rendering the star rating. I would still vote because we could do one of two things. We could either append an index to the form name, which I don't like.
But the form doesn't have the name issue. The hidden input that should store the book ID. There's this hidden input that has a rating with the value 5.
Yeah.
But this one, in our star rating component, here, that one, we have the book ID coming in, then we're sticking that into our state,
yeah,
which populates it here.
But still, the name of the input is always ID.
That's
for
true.
All those 8 or whatever books you have on your page.
Oh, and do you think we can't have that?
I don't know.
Yeah, you're totally right, because this is the name, and we're putting in name statically here.
Of course, right? Which is what you would usually do when you have a unique form field. So we could.
Ooh.
I'm a bit torn. I still don't think it has to be interactive on this view. So I
agree.
Probably prefer to just make it static in that case, so we don't have to deal with this. Mm-hmm.
But I'm still super confused that this is we just put something here, but it decides to put something entirely different here.
Right?
Yeah. That's super funky to me. If I just change this to 1, 2, 3, it's oh no! Now, hold on. Let's reload this. What's happening? Oh, because I'm resubmitting the form, maybe? No, we're loading the page.
And it's calling the update book function?
Ooh, I have a sense of what's going on. I think. So, you know how I'm using the effect. And I think now the whole thing is rendering, and then the rating is set. So the submit handler is called right away. You know? But I guess it's, I don't know, we could probably, if filled stars. So I don't know. Let's log the filled stars. Are they coming in? Oh, they are coming 5.
So basically, can't we say so in that use effect?
Even the rating is set with a 5.
But can't we? So line 54. If submit handler, can't we say if submit handler and rating is unequal to filled stars? Only then we call the submit handler. What do you think?
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Copilot agrees with you. Yeah. I don't know. So
now that makes sense because you renamed the field to 123 and it's looking for ID.
Also very true. It's okay. It's now okay. So now coming back to it's still, but the name is still weird. Oh, let's try. I still want to see now 1. It does work, but is this like some black voodoo magic that React is applying because it sees that
I don't know.
Have
try
this?
Please add a rating to one of the other books on this page.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Hold on. So currently we're not rendering the rating if we don't have it yet. So that should be here.
Yeah, but then you have to probably say it's 0 if we don't have a rating.
Rating or 0. Or
no, that's confusing. I would go for 0, yeah. I think you're on the overview page right now. You're looking at the detail page.
Oh, see? I'm in book display.
Yeah.
In the preview, so to say.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
5, 3,
1.
Okay, chill.
No. Well, no. Yes. It's just the ordering is different because we updated them.
Okay. That's also weird. Maybe we could do something like sort alphabetically, but
it does work.
It does.
So we're here, and it comes in with a 3. That's super nice.
That's nice, hey.
Oh, but then we still have to do the same update on the display page. So here we're probably also only showing the rating if we have it. So let's do this and do the same. Or 0. Yeah. Amazing. So test 2. Yeah. 5 stars. Bam. Test 2, 5 stars. Yep.
Nice. So it's working.
It's working.
Like a little bit of magic is involved, but it is working.
It's like, I actually kind of like it that it's working in the list too, because like it's very quick to work with. I think that's nice. We could totally, so if we were to not like this, then we would have to come in and kind of mute this. Like, I think then we literally need like another prop that we pass, right?
Exactly.
That says view only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can, I like it. We can keep it like that, I think.
So here we go. I don't know. This was a very interesting exercise, I would say.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I still believe if you show our app to anyone, they'd be like, what? You took like 10 episodes to build all of this.
Yeah.
But as we saw, there is stuff to stumble upon, I guess. And that was like to surface real life code editor work. I think that is at least, really what I was hoping that would come out of this series. Yeah.
Totally. Nice. But that's cool. There's so many more things we could do, I think.
So many.
I'm kind of happy with where we are with our little component.
I'm very happy. I think now I learned a lot. I learned about authentication in SuperBase and how services and actions work together, and that the whole paradigm shift of React to go to server components is really something that you have to learn about because it's really something new. I'm honestly left with the feeling that I think I do know how it works now. The whole use client, don't use client, interactivity, requires use, all of that. So I think now I'm wondering, what is the best practice if you have a component on a page? The page is not marked as use client. I think that's not even allowed or whatever. I'm not sure. But so you have an interactive component that is supposed to deal with other components on that page. Like, do we now have to sort of put them in a use client wrapping component so they get to interact with each other? Like, now I'm wondering about all of this sort of stuff for my React work.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. I think it all depends what kind of interaction it is. So in this case, our interaction was supposed to trigger something on the server. So I think the way we did it, wrapping it in a form and using the server action, I hope that was the right way to do it. At least in my head, it made sense. But let's say, like, there could be a scenario where the interaction maybe just triggers another UI state change. And I think in that case, we would have to do what you just said and kind of wrap it in a client wrapper to make sure that kind of all the UI state changes are on the same level on the client side.
And do like what React originally was invented to do, I guess.
Yeah. But I think, like, I don't know, this is very interesting. I'm kind of glad we did that. Wrapped our head a little bit around what happens on the client side, what happens on the server side. Because honestly, this is here to stay, like, especially with the big news, for me at least, big news of Create React app being deprecated. And I think even on the React homepage right now, they recommend a framework like Remix or Next.js.
Wow.
I think you could still build an SPA with Vite, for example, instead of Create React app. But even React itself now recommends using something like Next.js. And I think this huge paradigm shift, that's really here to stay. For a while, I wasn't sure if it would be only like a little, a temporary phenomenon, this whole SSR trend. But whether we like it or not, I think we need to get used to it.
I agree. Like, I just talked to Simeon from Sanity last week in a podcast, and he also said he understands why we took the detour to static server rendering and to pre-render the entire site and just serve HTML files that then load up JavaScript and so on. But he says his take is that he's happy that we're kind of back to the real client-server paradigm, which just because it is how the internet is supposed to work. Like, this is how HTTP works. Like, this is why we have it in large degrees. And so React, calling out Next.js as the framework.
That's an argument for SSR or against it?
I think it's not necessarily about SSR. I think it's about static site generation, like not being the answer. So we had static site generation, right? Because we came out of, we didn't have, I think this was something that was an easy fix to utilize CDNs fully, right?
Yeah.
So you could serve whatever you had already from a CDN and also the JavaScript files, and it was like all of that. But now we kind of, I think all of, like, especially frameworks like Next.js on top of React with server components is now sort of ready to take on the challenge of handling client and server communication properly.
Yeah, totally.
This hard split between use client or not is testimony to the fact that we're now embracing a client as a client and a server as a server. And we're kind of, I think we're coming out, and especially with SSR, I think we're coming out of this age where we tried to treat the client and the server in a similar way. And that's just, I think this is at least my take. This is not how the internet was designed to work, right?
Yeah.
That's not it. We do have a client and we do have a server. We'll always have it.
Totally. And we saw that with, like, especially our form magic that had nothing to do necessarily with Next.js or React or anything. That was just HTML forms and inputs. And the other thing is Next.js does support static site generation as well. So it does have an SSG mode, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
So it doesn't really mean that we need to only build SSR apps. But Next.js, I guess, is just an opinionated framework also when it comes to like folder structure.
Yeah.
And especially things like routing and HTTP requests. I think that was the main reason also why Create React App was deprecated, because you still had to decide what do you use for routing? What do you use for HTTP requests?
Yes.
And that's why I guess, we're more leaning towards the frameworks right now because they are all opinionated and you don't have to make a bunch of decisions. Which, I don't know, it can be good or bad, I guess. That's where we are.
It almost seems like React is now only like one abstraction layer, because the whole server components thing, you can't even use that without a whole bunch of setup on your side with plain React. Because
exactly.
That's a concept that only becomes implemented by something like Next.js.
That's what I'm wondering. That's almost philosophical, hey? But what is React? Like, what is left of React? Because I remember when we started with the whole UI libraries and frameworks, there was React, there was Angular, and Vue.js somewhere in the middle. But I remember at the beginning of React, we all insisted on saying React is not a framework, it's a library, because it was so lightweight, especially compared to Angular, because Angular is opinionated. Like it comes with its own HTTP and routing and so on. And React specifically did not do that. Like it was just it was a library and not a framework. But now, I don't know, it's this shell. Like React is kind of only one of the building blocks of, for example, Next.js or Remix.
So, I mean, React always said it's only, I think it's not the rendering part. Remember how we always install React and on web projects, React DOM, because React without React DOM is not even then it's completely platform agnostic. Like this is how React Native works, right? Like it's a completely different renderer of what React does. And so you could make the point that React is now accepted for what it is, which is kind of like this meta technology layer that just handles reactivity.
Yeah, totally.
And but it's, as someone who wrote his bachelor's thesis back then in one of the first versions of Ruby on Rails, and I know that my co-founder Dan, for example, always says, well, everything that Next.js is kind of making right now, Django has that for 20 years. I guess out of full stack JavaScript app land, I think there are many technologies looking at the development of this trend and who are like a little bit like shaking their heads. Like
Ruby on Rails or PHP. We make fun of it all the time. Because we say this is ancient and only developers from the 70s use it or whatever.
Yes.
But at the same time, we are copying the exact paradigms that these technologies are implementing.
We kind of came full circle. Yes. In the realization of this is how the internet works. And I think this is not anything against Next.js or whatever. I think it's just something to make yourself aware of, that using the server is not new. Yes. It's actually totally old.
It's very old. Yes.
Very old. Yeah. And then also my friend Lucas, for example, he reminded me that there's stuff like Elixir and Phoenix, and there's, I think it's not called XHTML, HTMX. No. This framework that also renders on the server and just sends patches of updated HTML through a WebSocket. So there's no JavaScript running on the client. And there's all of these opportunities out there that are not working like this, but all do embrace the client server paradigm. Yeah. So, I don't know. Really a philosophical outlook on what else is there, because these days I totally feel like if you say front end, then the next person will say Next.js. And I think that's zeitgeist for me. That is,
Yeah,
but it's also just not the only option.
Totally. But I do find it comforting in a way that we're kind of going back to the basics, you know, because especially in the realm of full stack web development, sometimes you feel like what you learned last week is already outdated the next week. But now we're using the technologies from the 90s. And I kind of like that. It means that, I mean, of course, we're like sprinkling in different flavors, but under the hood, it's the internet the way it was designed to be. And I do like that in a way. Like it's not, things are changing and evolving, but maybe not as much as we sometimes think they are, you know, like under the hood, it's still the basics. And I think that also proves that whether you are a React or Next.js or Vue or Angular, whatever developer, it really pays out to have the basics, you know, to know like what exactly is an HTML form and what happens when you click submit. And, I think like solid basics in HTML, these days TypeScript and CSS will get you very far, no matter what framework you use.
Very far. And hey, I just opened like an old project that we had that's still using styled components, for example. And I forgot how complicated and horrible this API was. Like what we did to fix CSS in JavaScript land, like when we were still in this hype train almost, because everybody was like, oh, we can do so many things in JavaScript. Like, let's do all of it. And compared to my CSS authoring experience today, like with just Vite or, you know, just directly like that or Tailwind or whatever, but like to wrap all of this in these complicated libraries, that I think that's where people also remember dependency hell from, right? Like when you had like these million very essential libraries in your project, and if one of them didn't update, then you, So I'm very happy that we're getting out of this. And I do think that the age of just like single page applications developed stuff that we have today that actually unlock going back to the client and server paradigm, because performance was a huge issue back then. Like if you just had one server that was sitting in Germany and somebody wants to post a new rating from China, that's a long way to travel. And now CDNs came along, like did the whole development of edge functions and serverless and like all of distributed databases, all of the stuff that actually gives us both benefits now, like global distribution and client server architecture. So I do think that all of this was necessary, and we're not just, you know, plain stupid. But still, it's an interesting field to work in, I think, because there's so much diversity in the tech.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. Hey, we're done, I think.
Judith, thank you so much for
doing
all of these episodes. I had a great time.
This was fun. I have a feeling we will be back. We will be back with something. I'm not sure yet what it's going to be. If it's season 3 of the Virtual Bookshelf or if it's going to be something completely different. But I think we will be back with something for sure sooner or later.
I agree. Yeah, totally. Like it's not like we're breaking up.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Cool. We're working together anyway, and I'm sure we'll come up with the next funky thing to share. Yeah.
Definitely. Nice.
All right.
Cool.
In that spirit, see you in the next one.
See you. Bye-bye.